Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. This year, 2025, is supposed to be the year of playability and content for Star Citizen, and they've come a long way since the start of the year, coming from Alpha 4.0 being on the preview branch to Alpha 4.2.1 now in July. I want to talk about the even more ridiculous Star Citizen funding that the game's getting. This year it's going to break all records. They've made a huge amount of money so far. I want to talk about the main beats of what Star Citizen has done so far this year, getting Pyro out the door, to giant sandworms, to what's also left for the rest of the year. This is kind of a mid-season recap and tease, like a mixture of that. So what have CIG achieved so far? Well, they've moved to monthly patches. That's a big change. And we've had a patch pretty much every month so far, even if it's just a minor one. Yeah, it's supposed to be the year of playability and content, with CIG focusing on getting their game as playable as possible or sensible, and focusing less on new features while expanding out content, points of interest, events, stuff that we've already got, activities, gameplay systems that are already there. Bit like treating it as a released game and improving that, but also having these events. So in January, we had 4.0.1, kind of bringing the 4.0 patch to live with a load of extra improvements. We got Pyro, we got server meshing, and I suppose with that, we also got things like contested zones and the events. Fight for Pyro, Supply or Die with 4.0.2. We could see from the monthly patches that CIG wanted to do regular events or new core activities. It's kind of either or for the most part. And so what do I mean by that? Well, you've got things like Fight for Pyro and Supply or Die. They are one-off events. They might reuse some of the mission components later, or they might be using just lots of different mission components themselves, but they are some sort of narrative experience that is a one-off, run for the patch and then done. But you also have things like March's Alpha 4.1, Align and Mine. That is a activity which is permanently or semi-permanently available in Star Citizen. It might change in the future, but it's not a single one-off event. It's available in game still now. With that patch as well, 4.1, you got a load of stuff. You got Valakar, you got Wicklow, you got item recovery, you got ramming improvements, slave turrets. Probably one of the best patches we've had in terms of content. May 4.1.1, they had Fleet Week and the Hunt the Polaris event. They released a load of cool ships as well, like the Idris. And then June 4.2, Stormbreaker, that activity, and the giant Apex Valakar. I mean, obviously there's a ton of other stuff there. They've added Wicklow, these new areas in Stanton that you can go to and get missions from and get interesting high-tier loot from. A little bit of a taste of having an alien in-game with the Banu, but also his missions are effectively very, very early crafting. I mean, they're not. They hit the same beats as that, though. We have had tons of ships and vehicles go out to Flyable, the Guardian MX, the Fortune, the Golem, the Greycat MTC, the Asgard, the ATLS Ictes, which interestingly are in-game exclusives. They didn't sell them for real money. The latest one's the RSI Meteor, but they also surprise released in May the Idris P and M and its weapon kits and stuff like that as well. So that was absolutely crazy, having those capital ships launch. As I said, we've had the Valakar, we've had the Apex Valakar, those giant sandworms, irradiated animals, absolutely tons of stuff. There's been tons of ship balance and improvements to core systems. Dynamic weather's turned up, loads of new points of interest. There's kind of light exploration in game because of that, but I mean, again, it's not there yet. There's more stuff to do than ever before. And now, July, we've got 4.2.1 out to live. The Race for Stanton. So this is an event rather than an activity. And as I said earlier, events are sort of one-off. You're helping one of the big four corps of Stanton here and helping them collect a load of stuff. But you can effectively defend and escort ships. You can do hauling. You can do mining. You can recover this stuff from pirates and do FPS assaults to get some of this stuff back. CIG wanted to do something interesting with the story, and there's been a huge amount of story throughout the year with the Regen Crisis and that evolving. And actually, this event, the Race for Stanton stuff, is going to have a effect more permanently on the game because one of those corporations, the winning one, will have the Pyro Stanton jump point named after it, but also have a 5% discount in all of its stations and landing zone stuff. Sounds really cool, yeah, but Alpha 4.2.1 launched really broken. At least the event was super broken. There was a more generally sort of some other issues and instability and cargo problems as well. It's an alpha for a reason, right? They're trying to make it more playable than ever, but this patch was a bit disappointing in how broken it was because there was like no access to the event to start with, and then they funneled all the players into the wrong area or to an area altogether where there weren't enough missions again. It's not as broken as 4.0 was, because 4.0 was on its own special preview branch because of how broken it was. It's just frustrating because they've come such a long way in getting the game into a much better state and then released this pretty broken. Now as well, trying to do any of the outpost missions with freight elevators, that's just very frustrating because people can just steal your cargo off your ship while you're trying to do stuff. You'll often get your ship stolen. The freight elevators just decide not to work quite often. It's a fantastic patch with a lot of cool stuff, but it's very hampered because of the bugs, and CIG are fixing them. They're going to plow through that and get a load of hotfixes out, and I suspect with the next major patch, it'll be into a significantly better state again. Do CIG need to spend longer testing on the PTU? Well, I'm not sure if that's the issue. So a lot of this stuff just popped up when they moved over to the live servers. Sometimes this might happen. I don't want it happening when the game is No More Resets 1.0 launch. And once it's out of alpha, you can't have this sort of stuff happening, really. And there's a load more coming up. I think patch-wise, CIG said there was roughly going to be 10 this year. They obviously missed one out in April. August, we've got the Ship Showdown. That's going to be making some noise about your favourite flyable ship or vehicle, and then the top 16 fight it out in a popularity contest, and then the top 4 have skins made for them for the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, and owners of those get them for free. There's also typically a free fly as well with the top 8 ships. Interesting year this year as well, because we got things like the ATLS, but also the Idris and the Polaris and stuff like that. So interesting stuff. That's going to be great to see. September, you've got Pirate Week. So CIG might do some interesting stuff with that. Then October, potentially, is going to be a pretty big month. You've got Day of the Vara, Halloween throughout the month, but also CitizenCon. It's going to be a online-only event, which actually might be significantly better for Star Citizen because it will be a lot more compact as well. It's going to be a few hours rather than a couple of days. We might see CIG actually announce the release date of Squadron 42, something like that. We know that it's going to be released in 2026, at least that's the plan, and super excited for that. November, Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, potentially the biggest funding event of the year, and you can pretty much buy any ship that's ever been sold. And then December, you've got Luminalia. Now, a lot of this stuff is likely going to have some tie-in to in-game as well, more so than previously, just because CIG are working on a lot more content rather than features, and they'll go, oh yeah, we've got the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, let's add a couple of interesting missions or events to that. Oh, let's make Pirate Week an actual event to hunt pirates or to do piracy. Day of Vara often has loads of unlockable skins and masks and stuff, but they could have some much more interesting in-game event linked to that as well. And like Luminalia, they typically have like an advent calendar and a load of free loot. And there could again be a load of stuff in-game that you can find like boxes around and swap them for Alpha UEC. And there's a load of potential features and content we might see by the end of the year. Just because they are focusing more on content doesn't mean they're not having any features at all. We do know that like engineering and stuff is being worked on. Dynamic weather, Planet Tech V5, Genesis, Vulcan, tons and tons and tons of stuff is likely going to get updated or improved or potentially even be in our hands. I mean, I'm super excited for the possibility of very, very early base building type stuff, bounty hunting version 2, hacking, expanded medical gameplay, lots of stuff like that. Do also want to talk about Star Citizen's funding. It's an undeniably huge amount, over 76 million so far this year. And by the end of July, it looks like it will have made around the same amount that Star Citizen had made in funding at the start of November last year, if you see what I mean. They're around 3 months ahead in funding compared to last year. And I think they're going to smash past 125, 130 million in yearly funding by the end of this year, personally. The current highest is 117 million that they made in 2023. It was 116 million in 2024. A big intergalactic aerospace expo in November could catapult Star Citizen's funding into previously unseen territories. Players are hoping to see ships like the Javelin, the Ironclad, the Perseus, the Apollo. There's a load of ships that CIG have yet to announce that they've been working on, and there could be some surprises here. Like, they had that surprise Idris release. What if they surprise release the Javelin? That would make them a ridiculous amount of money. It's only if it's like ready, do you know what I mean? Also, a hard release date and pre-order for Squadron 42, starting like in October. That would be absolutely crazy for the amount of money that Star Citizen could earn this year. That is assuming they continue with its 2026 release, which they've been oddly consistent with so far. But you could start to see like a traditional advertising campaign for Squadron 42 as well, actually be available to purchase again, because it hasn't been available to purchase for quite a while. However, CIG probably want to avoid selling things like flight blades that like sold for real money, like during Fleet Week, where they gated a new type of component for real money and then said you can use it at this earliest possible stage by buying it with real money. Now, that caused a lot of controversy because it's a bit different from ships, because it was like a core little thing in game that goes, oh, these affect your ship's sort of flight characteristics. Well, don't gate them with real money. That's just scummy. That's just nickel and dime. And they did go, oh, okay, yeah, we'll put them in game with the next patch and we won't do this sort of thing again. So let's hope that that's true. There's always going to be a risk with Star Citizen being an alpha as well, that some of these patches land to live broken or partly broken. Well, they're definitely going to be partly broken. It's an alpha for a reason. They are moving towards Star Citizen 1.0. We're a few years out from that, at least a couple, even if magic happens. But you can probably expect quite a cool October with CitizenCon and a load of events throughout this year that are going to be pretty interesting. But CIG seem to be doing that thing where every other patch has like a major activity that's going to be permanent, and then an event again every other patch. Give me some more creatures, give me some more Valakar and boss fights and things like that. I'm totally hot for that. Very excited for Alpha 4.3 with things like the cooperative zones and those new explorable underground abandoned bases. I've talked a lot about Alpha 4.3 in another video. Go check that video out if you're interested. Tell me in the comments what you're looking forward to this year, what you're expecting to see. When do you think Star Citizen's going to actually, well, Squadron 42 is going to release? Do you think they'll actually announce a release date, a hard date for it at CitizenCon this year? I know it's pretty much confirmed that we're going to see the Perseus at the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. What else do you think we'll see? I think probably the Apollo as well, but that could come before that. There's loads of other stuff that could turn up. Comments below. I'd love to hear from you and hear your ideas. Something else you might be interested in is NordVPN. Go to the links down below or go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer. Get yourself some better accessibility, security, and privacy while using the internet. I use NordVPN and I really like it. Every month we have a ship giveaway, and July 2025 is no different. We're giving away a Prowler utility with lifetime insurance and a Star Citizen game package. All you need to jump into the game with a stealthy cargo ship. It's all you need to start your career as a hauler or maybe a pirate. Comment on any of our videos made during this month to be in for a chance of winning that. If you would like to further support the channel, consider becoming a channel member with the join button under the videos, or a Patreon. Links down below for that. And there's loads of other links that you can help support the channel with, from Game Glass to THRUSTMASTER, loads of products that you will potentially want for your Star Citizen experience. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great month, and I'll see you in the verse.